Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines we have for you today. ETH 2.0 merge. I got something for you need to hear. Experts saying $20 trillion to surge into crypto. How did XLM get clarity before XRP? We're going to take a look at that and a deeper look into the SEC versus Ripple complaint. We got something you need to see. 75% institutions will use crypto. We'll tell you how long. And XRP pinpointing major resistance area. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on TikTok or YouTube or Twitter or Facebook for exclusive content. $1.2 trillion market cap for crypto. It's August 14th, 2022. Good morning, everybody. Bitcoin right now, 24,600 plus. Ethereum, just a few dollars under 2,000. And we see XRP is now at the number 8 spot, slipping 2 spots to Hex and Cardano. It is 38 cents this morning. Good morning, everybody. Let's take a look really quickly here. Masterworks, I want to let you know that I just bought into another painting here. Lucio Fontana is what I bought into this time. Listen, you know, there is a watershed moment going on in crypto. There is outrageous inflation happening right now across the planet and so much uncertainty everywhere. One of the core tenets of investing for me is to stack my pennies next to the richest people's dollars. That's what I've been doing. And this is one of the ways that I can do that for the first time in the history of mankind. If you're not able to buy a $2.6 million painting, you can buy shares of one for $20 a share right at Masterworks. And that's what I've been doing. And I love doing it. If you invested $45,000, you would have made $60,000 on the last round of paintings. That's an impressive number. And I tell you again, this track record has been working for the richest people in the world. And don't forget, you can go in and compare the S&P to each artist's work, or the housing market, or the U.S. corporate bonds, or gold, and see how they perform, whether they outperform, just like right here. You see the S&P is getting outperformed by Luciano Fontana hugely here. Now, obviously, there's a risk to anything, but this to me is one of the safest places for me to put some of my investments going through this moment right now. Plus, I love art. Make sure you check out the link underneath the description or in the comment box and the video in the comment description box. If MiCA, which is EU regulations, had already been in place, Patrick Hansen says here, U.S. Terra would not have been listed on EU regulated exchanges. It wasn't used much for trading anyway, but apart from that, not much would have changed, unfortunately. You know, this, whether you're in the EU or whether you're in the US, you better get ready. This is the narrative here, right? I mean, we're not far. I liken the idea of getting stablecoin legislation in the United States to what the Telecommunications Act in 1996 did for the internet. I really do. And I think you're going to see a number in a second that's going to really reinforce that. Just in, Brazilian crypto lending platform Blue Banks halts withdrawals following a $32 million hack. Look, I'm a libertarian at heart, but I got to tell you, you know, I want to see some accountability here. There's too much of this happening. Whether we're talking about hacks or insolvency, there is too much of this happening. And whether it needs to be security measures to protect from hacks, or whether it needs to be regulation to really hold entities accountable for being insolvent, you know, all of these things, obviously I get this as a maturation process, but let's get there, people. Let's get there, right? Because all of us have real money in this space. And it's really, really hard to watch someone else lose theirs, let alone if it's us at times, right? I got caught upside down in the Terra. You know what I mean? So I know that feeling. Anyway, looking right here, there's the next place you want to be careful not to get caught upside down. Now, I hope that Ethereum 2.0, switching from proof of work to proof of stake, goes well. And I hope that people invested in it make an enormous amount of money. But this is Joseph Lubin and Vitalik Buterin, and listen what they say here when discussing ETH 2.0 and what ETH 1.0 is just basically a prototype. And they knew that ETH 1.0 wasn't going to be scalable for sure. Don't believe me, but listen to them.
Tell us in like both of your views on what is Ethereum 2.0, where non-technical people can understand.
Yeah, and Ethereum 2.0 is basically the kind of the updated attempts to realize the same vision. It's basically taking all of these ideas and values of open permissionless networks where anyone can participate and decentralized collaboration, and trying to expand them to go beyond like just one application like money, and try to basically create this kind of sandbox where people can build and try different things and see what works. Except, so that part of the vision's I think the same that it always has been. But the thing that has changed is the tools that we're using to build it, right? So Ethereum 1.0 single chain, Ethereum 2.0 sharded, Ethereum 1.0 proof of work, Ethereum 2.0 proof of stake, Ethereum 1.0 RLP hexary Merkle patrician trees, Ethereum 2.0 SSZ binary Merkle trees, Ethereum 1.0 256-bit EVM, Ethereum 2.0 optimized and standardized WebAssembly. So a lot of things are kind of...
Does that mean, though, that all the contracts and everything that was built on Ethereum 1.0, will that be portable to Ethereum 2.0?
The current plan is yes. So we do have a strategy for basically taking the Ethereum 1.0 state root and kind of migrating it over and plugging it in so that the ecosystem can kind of continue to exist, and will be interoperable with things created in Ethereum 2.0 directly.
And is there going to be a fork? Is there
No, there won't be a fork. There
people
will be
can keep their original
two
Ethereum?
parallel systems, and a fairly smooth migration is planned from Ethereum 1 into Ethereum 2. And at a higher, more conceptual level.
Yeah, listen to this line of crap.
Ethereum 1 you could think of as a prototype. It was...
So you got a $2,000 prototype in your hands right now is what he's telling you.
An impossible project that got built, and we needed to put out something that we knew wouldn't be scalable. We needed to do that to figure out how to build decentralized applications, figure out the developer tooling and the infrastructure that we needed to build them and deploy them. We needed to figure out whether it's possible to build companies around decentralized applications, because a number of years ago, people just thought, no, it's all code out in the open, the margins would go down to zero, there'd be people copying everybody back and forth, and of course that's not true, because there's so much to building a product and a service in a company outside of the actual pure technology. We needed to build a trust foundation and figure out what we could build on top of that. Turns out we can build a financial
you're
plumbing
saying
layer.
That the concept of launching something that doesn't scale and then rebuilding it as something scalable
it
was
scales
in the
somewhat.
initial
It scales somewhat.
plans or initial
yeah, we
thinking.
knew it wasn't going to be scalable for sure.
We knew it wasn't going to be scalable for sure. Boy, I hope it goes well for everybody holding it. I really do. I really do. Experts predict $20 trillion crypto market surge. Now, I'm not worried about those coins they're talking about here, but this just reinforces the notion that Coinbase will allow BlackRock's Aladdin clients direct access to Bitcoin. And what do we know? BlackRock, it managed a staggering $21.6 trillion in assets, or 7% of the total global assets as of 2020. You know, I've said this before, but I just want to say it again very quickly here. BlackRock's been in the space and been getting Bitcoin and gathering their own bag. Now they're letting their richest clients come in. You know, this is happening. This is a process. I said it the other day. There is a hierarchy to being able to come in and get this access, knowing that you see BlackRock's in, large institutions, now their client list, you know, it's getting closer and closer to having some clarity and regulation, because the level of money that's entering this space is undeniable, and they will have to have regulation straight, but they want to get their pockets full before it does so they can get at the bottom of the market, which may not be completely in yet. What I really love is that all of us are already in and watching this happen, if you're hearing my voice. JV the Great here says, I wonder how XLM got clarity before XRP. Robinhood says crypto that's offered by them are not securities. Says it right here. It says it right here. Cryptos offered by Robinhood Crypto LLC are not securities and are not FDIC insured or protected by SIPC. That's what you need to know. Well, they just recently listed XLM. So how are they so sure that it's not a security? And if it isn't a security, how in the world does XLM not be a security, but XRP is? And more to that point, this is Jesse Hines right here, who is now actually the chief legal officer at Gala Games. He says, I finally took some time to look back into the Ripple lawsuit, and we need to take a deeper look into this complaint too, because, you know, what he's pointing to here, whether he intended to or not, points to something I've been making a point about since the damn complaint happened. He says, I still think the overall end result will be a forward-facing victory for Ripple, with the possibility of them getting slapped on the wrist for an initial offering. He goes on to say here, I do think they should get that slap on the wrist. No. He says, with that said, the more I read about things said regarding the Hinman speech, the more it chips and chips away at what the slap on the wrist will be. It's moving from a firm slap to a play slap, he says. He said, I also caught up on lots of posts by John Deaton and attorney Jeremy Hogan, James Filan Law. And he says, and while we don't always agree at times, attorney life, people are very lucky to have them here giving info and keeping updates. Yes, we are. It took he took some personal hits about his opinions. Well, everybody does. You're on social media. Offering is a word, he says, that can mean many things. There was an initial distribution. He said, I was very careful and didn't say sale or exchange offering, etc. What's interesting is it really inspired me to go back and look at the complaint. And here in line 5, SEC versus Ripple, it says right here, from a financial perspective, the strategy worked. Over years, long unregistered offering of securities, says the SEC, the offering, Ripple was able to raise at least $1.38 billion by selling XRP without providing the type of financial managerial information typically provided in registration statements and subsequent periodic and current filings. And listen, I'm 12 years short of a law degree, but I believe that's because what they were doing was actually option contracts really set up as seigniorage, which is really priming the pump by incentivizing people to use your new money. Okay, that's where I believe the heart of the difference is. But let's look at the legal definition of offering. A promise to do or refrain from doing something in exchange for something else. That's the legal definition from Cornell. And then we come back to line 82, which is what I've been stuck on for so long. Ripple also undertook to achieve its goal of widespread distribution of XRP by exchanging XRP for non-cash consideration. Again, I see this as seigniorage, option contracts, pre-allocating XRP to the entities that can bring the liquidity and utility from their same place, a la central banks, such as labor market and market-making services. That's what we're talking about, right? And if we look here, we have proof of that with R3 back at that lawsuit that they had in 2017, 2018 timeframe, when it was omitted right there. Additionally, a separate option contract was created, which Ripple says was intended as compensation. Non-cash agreements. Let me go here again. non-cash consideration. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Pre-allocation, pre-contractual agreements in the form of option contracts are not an opinion. They happen. And they're not bad, by the way, either. Because here's Brad Garlinghouse admitting it to Julia Chatterley. Take a listen.
It's quite funny. One of the big questions that I was asked when I was talking to people about XRP, they said, what price do you sell XRP to the financial institutions that you're dealing with here? Do you give them a discount, and is there a lockup? Can you answer those questions? Because this kept coming up.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, let's use MoneyGram as the example. When MoneyGram is moving money from US dollar to Mexican peso, they're buying at market. They're not, there's no special sweetheart deal there. There are times when we work with institutional investors who might say, hey, we want to buy $10 million of XRP, and we would have lockups that would prevent them from dumping. We don't want some other party buying a whole lot of XRP and dumping it on the market. And so we would hypothetically have restrictions about what they could sell and what, how often. And usually those are based upon volume in the market.
Yeah, so you might give them it slightly cheaper, but you say to them, hey, you're not allowed to sell it for 6 months, let's say, or a year.
Yeah, correct. That's basically correct.
Okay. So the idea of pre-allocation option contracts, it's not a theory, okay? And anybody tells you it is, they're going against exactly what Brad Garlinghouse has said right here and all the factual information that we know of. Here's the problem. We know XRP was pre-allocated through options contracts. The problem is this. Gary Gensler, Jay Clayton want the XRP in that options contract to be a security because it was in an options contract. Now, I wonder this. Does Gary Gensler think oil is a security when you use an option contract to secure that too in a contract? Hey, I'm going to need 5,000 barrels of oil. I'm going to buy an options contract on it today because I know I need it for my company 3 months from now. Is oil all of a sudden not a commodity and now it's a security? It is absurd what is going on here. Then let's listen to this. John Deaton says in 2020, head of assets at Sygnum Bank recommended people invest in the digital assets of the future. 1, Bitcoin is a store of value. ETH, 2, for infrastructure. And 3, XRP for payments. I think a payment currency, utility currency, is a great way to see XRP. He says, I agreed then, I agree now. All 3 will be standing in 5 years. How many other tokens can say that? Yeah, and how many other tokens can say they remain in the top 10 while being sued? And really, I believe, a ridiculous lawsuit at this point. Looking at this, I want to play this clip here from the gentleman, Bill Winters, the CEO of Standard Chartered. Listen to this very quick clip, and what he says, it's key to listen to this.
We have countries like Switzerland and China all testing out the digital currencies. How are you gearing up for the disruption of money with central bank digital currencies? How will it change the way you and other banks operate in future?
Probably fundamentally. While we're not formally involved, no foreign banks are involved in the Chinese ECNY. I think we're as close to that as we can be to understand how that digital currency can be used for cross-border trade. Going back 5 years, we had digital currency underpinned trade finance and money settlement systems.
Going back 5 years, underpinned trade settlement and finance.
And using, as a medium of exchange, using things like Ripple's XRP, for example.
Going back 5 years. And then I tell you about options contracts, which have been admitted to. This is pre-allocation. This is them working with it in a test way, right? But making sure that these entities that can ultimately someday bring the liquidity and the utility to the network already know what's going on here because they've been working with it for years, ladies and gentlemen, for years. Which really is why Ripple can release a report that says 75% of institutions will use crypto in the next 3 years. They're not guessing. It's real. James Wallace said it right here. In the next 2 to 5 years.
Absolutely. So as we thought about how we would get started on this, building out this solution and platform, cloud was the front and center. We've been deploying nodes on AWS for years internally within Ripple. So when we decided to create the CBDC ledger, we've deployed it through a sandbox on AWS as we sort of roll out projects with central banks. I think most of them will want a cloud infrastructure. There may be some for regulatory purpose that need to do an on-premise implementation, but I think certainly at this stage of pilots and proof of concepts and early implementations, people see the benefit of a cloud-based structure. In fact, we will be using the CBDC ledger on the cloud as part of this CBDC Innovate program that I mentioned previously. My prediction is that pretty much every country that has a central bank will eventually issue a digital version of their currency.
So do I, James. Would you say, at least in the next decade, you think that a certain percentage will be moving this way? Regulations are just always so interesting, depending on what market you're referring to. But it looks like most governments and central banks seem to be quite open about digital currencies. So do you see this potentially happening in the next 10 to 15 years? Most governments will, or central banks at least, will be more or will be adapting to CBDC. I'm always very optimistic, and I think the leading countries that are furthest along, I think it will be in the 2 to 5 year period.
And there you have it. The next 2 to 5 year period. And this article where Ripple says the next 70% in the next 3 years. So however you slice it, and look, and obviously, James Wallace is talking about central bank digital currencies, the private ledger, the fact that they have a cloud and with the Amazon Web Services for cloud-based solution for that Ripple CBDC private ledger. This space is going to grow so quickly, so big when we get some basic light touch legislation, I believe, like the stablecoin legislation that we're waiting for, which Patrick McHenry has voiced. It could be September, October. They could get this done before the end of the year. If they do that, I do believe it will have the impact of the Telecommunications Acts of 1996 and what that did for the internet. And if you really see the things that are taking place, like BlackRock opening the door to their clients just to get Bitcoin at this point, right? Knowing how much money is involved in that, trillions and trillions of dollars accessed through that Aladdin client list. To me, they're preparing for that moment. Now, don't forget, we could still see a USD Tether rug pull. So keep in mind about that. It's not a guarantee, but keep an eye out for it. And until then, let's take a look at this, because when it comes to pinpointing major resistant areas for XRP right now, they say the white boxes, 60 cent, 91 cent, $1.23, 356, and $32 are the ranges here. And we got to watch what's going on, because there's another post here that they shared where they said third weekly candle needs around 17 hours to close above the multi-year trend line, which is going to really be in this area you can see here, right? And this multi-trend line down here. So what we're watching for here is that, he says this trend line was a major resistance for almost 7 to 8 weeks. Flipping it into rigid support is essential for bullish continuation. So we're watching this right now. We're watching this, and I'd love to see us get above that one right there, right? And then we could see some real support there, and who knows where it goes from there, and who knows what fundamental news may actually get us to that place on the chart and what it could really mean for XRP price. I do believe that the next couple of years are going to be extremely, extremely interesting and exciting to watch, because we know that Ripple has done so much to build the market infrastructure for payments. And I really can't wait to watch it all unfold. I believe it will be an exciting couple years, ladies and gentlemen. Now, before I get out of here very quickly, PureVPN, it's one of the many different ways I hide my identity online. I love using PureVPN. I love working with them. 82% off right now for a 27-month plan, and it is extremely affordable. Make sure you check it out. Time is ticking. I'll catch all of you on the next one.